All right, so today we're diving into something kind of meta. We're talking about the UX of you.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like, you know how everyone says your LinkedIn profile is your online resume now?
Definitely.
We're going way deeper than that.
Yeah.
You sent over Mike Curtis's LinkedIn, and we've also got this third-party review of it, plus some snippets of his public activity.
Gonna be juicy.
Totally. And our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to find out what makes this guy stand out, not just as a UX designer, which he clearly is, but as like a thought leader in the field.
Right. It's one thing to have the skills, but it's another to be recognized and sought out for your expertise.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to unpack today. So first things first, this career path over 20 years of experience here. Customer service, graphic design, sales. It's not your typical path to UX design.
Not at all. It's actually super interesting because we can already start to see how those early experiences might have shaped his approach to design.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Think about it, those customer-facing roles. Pure gold for a UX designer.
Because he learned firsthand what users need and how they actually behave, right?
Exactly. Understanding user needs, building empathy, that often starts with those real-world interactions. Then you see him flexing his creative muscles at Allred's Inc. Even becomes their marketing manager.
Talk about a crash course in business needs.
Right. He's getting a taste of it all. But then plot twist, he goes back to school, gets UX certifications, even starts teaching at Dev Mountain. It's like a mid-career reinvention, but so deliberate.
It makes you wonder, what was the aha moment there? What sparked that shift?
Right. And what's fascinating is this pattern of continuous learning. Throughout his whole career, he's not just adding skills, he's actively seeking new challenges. And then this is key, sharing what he learns with others. That says a lot about his approach to design, I think.
It's like he's got this passion that goes beyond just doing the work. He wants to elevate the whole field.
Exactly. Okay, so let's dive into some of these pivotal experiences. At 1-800-CONTACTS, for example, he's not just designing interfaces, he's tackling some seriously complex problems, like online contact lens prescription renewals across multiple platforms. Okay, now that's impressive. We're not just talking about solving problems, we're talking about creating innovative solutions that are recognized at an industry level.
Mhm.
That tells me this guy thinks outside the box.
Then, at Indeed, he's working on internal tools, which might not sound glamorous, but think about the impact.
Huge.
Right. Those tools affect millions of job seekers.
It's easy to overlook internal tools. But that right there is a perfect example of how behind-the-scenes design choices can have a massive ripple effect.
And it all points to this strategic mindset, which we see throughout his work.
100%. He's not just thinking about aesthetics, he's tying everything back to user needs and business goals.
Whether it's boosting sales at 1-800-CONTACTS or improving efficiency for Indeed's team so they can better serve those job seekers, it's all connected.
And it makes you wonder about this phrase that keeps popping up, the UX of you.
Ooh, yeah, what is that all about?
Well, it's woven all throughout his LinkedIn profile. It's like this idea that he's not just designing products, he's helping other designers understand how they are experienced by the world.
So he's taking those UX principles and applying them to personal branding. That's pretty meta.
It is, and incredibly clever. He's highlighting his technical design skills, obviously, but also his strengths as a communicator, a mentor, a collaborator.
It's like he understands that in a field that's so collaborative, those soft skills are just as important as the technical ones.
Right. He even has this You Design System newsletter where he shares insights and resources with other designers.
Most people are so hesitant to share their secret sauce. He seems to genuinely want to empower others to succeed.
Totally. And that speaks volumes, It suggests that this is someone who's confident in their own abilities, sure, but also genuinely invested in the growth of the design community.
And that kind of generosity, honestly, can really set you apart.
Oh, absolutely, especially in a field like UX, where, innovation often comes from those shared insights.
Collaboration is key. Speaking of which, we've got this third-party review of Mike's profile, and they seem to agree with, like, everything we've been saying.
Right. It's interesting, right? They specifically call out his, boomerang status at 1-800-CONTACTS, which, to me, that's always a good sign.
Totally. If a company hires you back, they obviously saw something special.
It makes you wonder, what was it about that experience? The company, the culture, the design challenges, something clearly resonated with him. And this goes back to that idea of career paths not always being linear.
It's more like finding those spaces where your skills and passions just, like, click.
100%. The reviewer also highlights his e-commerce experience, which makes sense given his background.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember that UX of you thread we were talking about?
Yeah.
The reviewer picks up on it too, even calling it like a defining characteristic. So it's not just Mike saying it, it's actually being perceived and like amplified by others too.
Just true. And that's powerful, right? It's like his personal brand is radiating outward. You're not just another name on a resume. You're the UX of you guy.
Hmm.
It's memorable.
So smart. Okay, before we wrap up, anything else in these materials that really jumped out? I'm looking at his public profile here, writing articles, guest on podcasts. He's really putting himself out there.
And that right there is another power move. He's positioning himself as a thought leader, someone who's not just doing the work, but actively shaping the conversation around UX.
It's like the difference between having a blog and actually writing insightful content that people want to read and share. It builds credibility.
Exactly. People are drawn to passion. And Mike, he's not just listing his skills, he's demonstrating them through his writing, his mentorship, his entire online presence, really.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The career path, the expertise, this whole UX of you thing. But what does it all mean for our listener? Like, they might be thinking, this is fascinating and all, but I'm not a UX designer, so what's in it for me?
And that's what's so cool about these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
It's about extracting those universal principles, the things we can all apply, no matter what we do.
It's almost like flipping the script, right?
Hmm.
Instead of just thinking about how users experience a product, we should think about how we as professionals are experienced by the people we work with.
Yeah, love that.
Are you the go-to person for a certain skill set? Do people see you as a problem solver? It's about being intentional about the narrative you're creating.
And like just as Mike uses his online presence to connect with other UX folks,
Yeah,
we can all use platforms like LinkedIn to share our work, network with people and build those digital resumes. It goes way beyond just listing your jobs.
for sure. You're building a reputation.
Exactly. So we started with Mike's LinkedIn, but honestly, we found so much more than just a list of jobs and skills. I mean, this is a guy who's committed to lifelong learning, right?
Yeah.
He's got a real passion for user-centric design. And honestly, he wants to bring other people up with him,
I love that. Instead of hoarding all that knowledge, he's sharing it with the world.
which is so powerful. It just goes to show that you can be incredibly talented and incredibly generous. That's a winning combination, if you ask me.
Couldn't agree more. So, Mike, if you're out there listening, you've given us, and hopefully all our listeners, a lot to think about.
Seriously.
And for everyone else, we'll make sure to link to Mike's profile in the show notes so you can check out his work for yourselves.
Because you never know, exploring Mike's UX of you might be just the inspiration you need.
Maybe it'll spark your next big career move. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep designing your own path, and keep being awesome.